My name is Beth Hiley here for Board Game Geek at Gen Con Online, and a quick reminder that if you are watching this feed to please turn in tickets. Even though this event is free, that is a way that Gen Con can track what is possible and what is popular and what people are enjoying. So now onwards to the hotly anticipated title that everyone has been waiting for. I am joined by Nick Metzler and Daryl Andrews, who have brought us the epic Titanic, based on the 1997 film by James Cameron. Yes, that's right. I know. We'll just do the whole interview like this because we can't pose in front of the awesome cardboard cutout you had of the bow of the ship. But this is a title I know that people have been really excited about, not just for the fact that it is based on a movie many people enjoy, but that it seems to be a really not quite cooperative, but not a well-designed game. Let me put it that way. So I'm going to pass things over to mostly Daryl, and as Nick told us off camera, he's here for the color commentary.
No, you got us backwards.
We're going to switch it.
Okay, other way
Daryl's
around.
going to throw in the fun facts.
Excellent. Okay, then Nick, I leave it in your capable hands.
All right. So in the Titanic game, the Titanic has hit the iceberg and it is sinking, and it is your job to run around the ship and save as many meeples as possible, aka those are the passengers. They come in 3 different types. You've got a grand total of 56 mini meeples in here, and they're super cute. We got green first-class passengers, some gray second-class passengers, and some red third-class passengers. You'll get different points for saving them. The gameplay is super easy. You are moving around rooms using action cubes, and you have a certain amount of action cubes, and you can pick stuff up and increase your capabilities over the course of the game. But the tension comes in when the Titanic is sinking, and it sinks really fast. It looks like the board is massive, right? It's a 20-inch by 30-inch board, and there's a lot of different tiles on it, but those tiles go quick. The game only lasts 9 rounds, and every single full round, 4 of those tiles will disappear, sinking the Titanic extremely quickly, and always keeping that pressure and that tension up. All right, so do we want to go through it? Kind of like in a couple example turns?
Yes, please. Yeah, that's exactly what I'm hoping for.
Excellent. So would you like to be Rose?
Sure, since it's first in life. Oh, Daryl, definitely Daryl.
Daryl, do you want to be Rose? Or do you
I want to be Rose. I always want to be Rose.
Excellent. So Rose is one of the playable characters, obviously. And to start the game, you will be in one of the bottom 4 tiles. So go ahead and place the mover, which is on the bottom there, onto one of the bottom 4 tiles.
And also, while you're finding that spot, my special ability, everyone has a one-time ability that they can refresh if they get to the top of the Titanic. So Rose's special ability is that I get to draw 1 star card. There's 4 decks of star cards. Those are the cards in the upper right. And so I would get to draw one of those cards as well. And there's 4 categories of them. So I'll just mention real quick. There's items, locations, different persons, or scenes. And so I could choose whichever type of card I'd like to start the game with. And then I would flip over my character to the grayed outside to show that I've used my ability. So I'm going to do that right away so that I have a card. And obviously I would normally keep it secret, but instead I'm going to show everyone. And I'm going to grab a scene card because I think those are the most dramatic. And the scenes are like the kind of the film canister with the reel on it.
There we go.
All right, so what does that card say?
A real party with the still shot of them being tipped over into a big end of party.
It's a dip.
That's a man. I completely blanked on that word. Yes, into a very fun and below deck party dip. There we go.
All right, so the purpose of these cards will give you sometimes more opportunities for scoring. Sometimes it'll cause a dramatic scene to be performed. So you might be hanging off the edge of the table saying, I'll never let go, I'll never let go. Or sometimes it'll give you items to get through previously unreachable areas. So to start the game, you're going to put the mover with the pawn on top of one of the bottom tiles. So just plop it down in one of these rooms. Perfect. And since we're going to be playing a 5-player game, you are going to start with, actually, let's play a 3-player game. You're going to start with 3 action cubes each. So you can put 3 action cubes into those slots.
The blue cubes, yeah.
Perfect. And those represent the actions that you can take. So as your first action, you're probably going to want to move from room to room. And Daryl, if you want to run through your actions here.
Yeah, I'm gonna step, because I could go left or right, or I could go up, as long as there's not a girder, which is a solid gray line blocking me. And where I've started, I can actually go straight up. So I'm gonna run up a level right off the bat, because I'm afraid of the water. And so I would slide one of my action cubes over, say to the U side, and I would move directly to the room above, exactly just like that. And then because I've moved into there, I also can do a free action. I can pick up one thing neighboring that room. And so immediately I'm going to rescue one of those red meeples and add it to my player board. I have a capacity of 2 so far, because I have 2 life savers that are built into my player board, and I do have the ability to get more. So right now I'm going to grab one of those reds and add it into my lifesaver. And so now I have one person that I'm rescuing so far, trying to save and bring them to one of the boats, the lifeboats that are on the 2 sides of the ship. Now, at this point, I'm going to actually move to the right as my second action. And I can cross that little water space in between. That's not a big deal. It's just moving from tile to tile. And each tile actually has 2 rooms on it. So I'm going to move to the room on the left, because that's just one movement. That's my second movement. Again, because I've moved, I can do a free pickup. And this time I'm going to pick up another lifesaver, which is immediately showing beside it. But I will scratch that out with the whiteboard pen to show that I've taken that, and I'm going to take one from the supply. The game
so
comes with a
stripped
white,
that hallway from its
pen,
life preserver.
And so you would scratch out the symbol of what I've taken out.
I like that.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then for my third action, I'm actually gonna climb. I believe I can climb up. I'm squinting at the screen a little bit, so tell me if I'm running into a girder. But I think I'm legit allowed to.
I think you're okay.
All right, and so I will go there. Oh, perfect. And on that level, I will take. I'm trying to see. I'm going to take another red meeple, because I have a space for one more. I'm going to take that red meeple and add it to my second lifesaver. So then that's the end of my turn. I've exhausted all 3 of my action cubes that were my available turns. I could have acquired more. If I acquired more, they already start on the U side, but they will give me future actions. But I think I've set myself into a pretty safe spot on the ship. Always at the end of every player's turn, then we have to flip over a flood card. So the cards up by the star cards, there's the flood deck, and always at the end of my turn, I'm going to flip that, and that's going to tell me which column flips over or floods right away. So it's number
column 3, I believe.
3. So then, yeah, the third column over, we're going to literally flip that tile over, keeping all the stuff that's on it. So I can't tell, but I think it has a green meeple, for example.
It does have a green meeple on it, yep.
That green meeple, and also the things that didn't get scratched out. So I think there was a lifesaver there, and if you want to put a lifesaver on top of that tile as well.
And you can just remove the tile. You can get it off the game board if you'd like.
Yeah, either way. You're just loading on there what was untaken.
Perfect.
Into that space. That's perfect. And then if I had acquired star stars, I would have taken star tokens, and then while it's the next player's turn, I can spend those star cards to acquire more, so that I'm not really taking anyone's time looking at my future missions and actions and items. So I would spend those as kind of my third step on my turn, and then I would go to the next player.
All right.
Well,
So
and I'm wondering if this
for
might
some
be.
context, yeah, for some context as to why he made the moves that he did. The goal of the game is to get points, right? And the way that you get points is by saving meeples. So he just collected 2 red meeples. He's going to try and load those meeples onto the lifeboats on the edges of the ships. As soon as he loads the meeples onto the edges of onto the lifeboats, he's going to score points based on what color meeple he saved. So he'd score 3 points per meeple that he saved there. His other way of scoring points is he can also get points from star cards. So if you collect star cards, you have opportunities in other ways to get new points. Sometimes it'll give you points at the end. Sometimes it'll give you points for performing different actions, or sometimes it might even give you points for going to certain locations on the ship. So on your turn, you might want to be thinking about, how do I optimize my opportunities here so that I can get the most amount of points possible? Doing that means getting star cards, getting meeples, and also planning out your path so that you can increase your capacity at the exact same time. So in terms of things that you can acquire on the board, you've got the meeples, which we've talked about. You've got the star cards, which we've talked about. You can also acquire more action cubes, which will increase the amount of actions that you can do every turn. So it's definitely a good thing to do, but you can only have a maximum of 5 there. And finally, you can also increase your capability of saving meeples by getting lifesavers. And so Daryl did one of that on the turn. So he grabbed a lifesaver so that he can save more meeples before he has to go to a lifeboat. And that's useful because the lifeboats are a destination. You have to actually physically go to the lifeboat and load the meeples onto the lifeboat. But the cool thing about it is you can load every single meeple you have as one single action. So there's a lot of there's like a bit of clumping here. You want to make sure that you can save as many meeples as possible before you visit the lifeboat, so you can get maximum points.
And I think I would like also for you guys to, or I was saying I would really like to also look at the fact that each character has a secret objective, a private objective as well. And I found it very clever how you guys used that card, that it potentially could be you get a lot of bang for your buck because there's all the private objectives are color coded.
Yeah, so like in a lot of common games right now, the one that's coming to my mind for me right now is Wingspan. In the beginning of the game, you're given one of these private objectives, and you can score lots of points if you achieve that. But the cool thing about these private objectives, we included 7 in the game. Each objective can apply to any specific person, and it's a little bit more thematic that way. So, for example, that top spot is in pink. That's for Rose. So no matter what card you get, you'll have an opportunity. It'll be one of those 5 characters, basically.
Oh wow! I played really well because I, for example, need scene cards, and I just happened to go for that.
Designer of the game, everyone.
It's sometimes better to be
Some
lucky.
call it luck. Some call it luck.
Better to be lucky than good.
All right. So I guess I'll go next, and I'll be Jack. And I get to start on any bottom level. Typically, in the setup phase, we'd all be started there. But since we're playing in a live stream right now, throw me into some place in column 4, just in one of the rooms. Yep, perfect.
And if he had started,
it'll have to start on the bottom.
Yeah, on the very bottom. One of the
perfect. All right. So I'm trying to squint here as well. Is there a girder above me?
There is not on that side.
Aha.
Perfect.
Okay. Perfect. As my first action, I think I'm going to move to the left. So you can put me into the sunken area. And this is totally allowed, by the way, as long as the entire line, the entire row of tiles isn't gone, you can still wait around in the sunken area. But you don't want to stay there because you will get a penalty point if the water level. Yeah, 3 penalty points if the water level rises and you're stuck in the icy depths. You don't want to be stuck in the icy depths. There's sharks there. All right, so I'm moving left, and I can pick up one of those things there for free. I think I'm going to grab the meeple. Perfect. And so that was one of my actions. So you can slide an action cube to the right. As my second action, I'm going to move straight up. Perfect. And can I see what's on that tile? Let's see here. So I've got the choice of taking an action cube, a meeple, or a star card. I think I'm going to take the action, or no, I can't. Sorry, I would need to be in the left-hand room if I wanted to pick the action cube. You can only pick stuff up that's next to you. So since that star token is in the middle, I think I'm going to take a star card. So just give me a star token, and I'll exchange it for a star card at the end of my turn. So, yep, one of those circular tokens. Perfect.
Yeah.
Excellent. And then I'm going to use my third action to move to the right. And let's see what's on that tile. All right. So my thought process here is I'm going to try and load meeples onto the lifeboat next turn. So I want to try and have as many meeples as possible that get me the most amount of points. However, I also want to make sure that I have action cubes that I can continue saving meeples. So my thought process here is if I take an action cube right now, because I can, next turn I can move one space to the right, pick up the gray meeple, and then load both of those meeples that I have onto the lifeboat next turn, and I'll still have the extra action cube. So I'm actually going to take the action cube there. So if we can just scratch that off and put a fourth action cube into the used slot. Perfect. And so my turn is over. I've used all 3 of my action cubes plus 1. So we can push all of the action cubes back to the left, and my turn is over, which means we can flip over another flood card. Like I said, this game floods really, really fast. So you're at a constant tension of what's going to flood next. All right, so looks like column 2 has been flooded. We are going to remove that tile and place anything that was on that tile onto the water depths of the board there. If the water line passes those tiles, everything that's on those tiles are lost completely to the icy depths of the Atlantic. So if you want stuff there, you have to go get it basically this turn. All right, so my turn is over, and because you can exchange star cards at the end of the turn, so I'm going to grab a location. So you can ditch the star token that I have, and I'll take a location. Nice. So what that does, now I'm thinking about this for the future, I have a stateroom card. If I visit a first-class stateroom and play that card, I will get 3 points. The points that you can get is on the top right of the card in that little star icon. And the instructions are basically tell you what to do. So I'm going to be looking at the board for my future turns and figuring out how do I get to a stateroom so that I can get 3 free points. So that card becomes mine, and it is now the next person's turn.
Well, and before, so the other 3 characters that are possible to play are Ruth, which is Rose's mother. Correct me if I'm wrong, correct?
Yep.
Yes? Yeah. Cal and the captain. Rather than showing an example of those turns, I really want to make sure that you guys talk about the catch-up mechanic that you have that is also extremely thematic for those who are starting to fall behind.
Daryl, you want to talk about the door and the heart?
Yeah, absolutely. So there's a couple fun components that everyone asks about. And so the first is there is a score track right on the board. And immediately when there is a definitive person in last place, then they will earn the Heart of the Ocean. And the beauty of the Heart of the Ocean is that whoever's in last place actually gets an extra action. So we did say that you're limited to 5 actions, but actually if you have this, then you will be able to get an additional action, which could be up to 6, depending on how many action cubes you have. And so that is one of the kind of built-in catch-up mechanics. However, as you hopefully do better because you have this little helper, then you may lose the Heart of the Ocean, which anyone who's seen Titanic, the Heart of the Ocean seems to move around in through everyone's hands as the movie tries to find out where it is. The other beautiful thing that everyone asks about is if we fixed that there was enough room on the door. And unfortunately, we did not. We stayed true to the film. Only one can get the door, and that is the first person to reach 20 points. So, as much as you want to hold back and try to make a big, efficient move, you do want to score points quickly because you will be the one that earns the door. Now, the door does, in the 2-player, it works a little different, but in the 3 to 5-player game, the way the door works is that if you achieve this, then at the end of the game, you don't have to race to the final collapsible boat. Instead, you have this door and you will float and still be able to score your points. However, everyone else must spend their actions by sometime before the game ends and get onto the final collapsible boat. And that final collapsible boat, depending on how early you get onto it, you can earn bonus points. However, if you're the last one on, you'll actually lose points. And if you don't get on at all, which I just experienced yesterday while playing this game, I missed by one step, you score 0 because you didn't get off the Titanic. So
you froze.
I froze and scored. I would have won, but I didn't. I got too greedy. I got too caught up. And
you were playing Cal, weren't you?
I was Cal. So I played thematically correct. So yeah, so that's how the door works. Also, I got to give a shout out to my one thing that Nick put in the box. I don't know if you have the Titanic, the game card on your end, but I will give a little shout out.
They do.
There was room for one more card, and so Nick came up with this card. First of all, a little cute shout out to our Meeple colors and a pretty iconic moment in the grand staircase. So our first class Rose is at the bottom of the stairs while Jack is dressed up in a tux, but in Meeple form. But on the back of this, there's a card with the challenge of, can you fit 2 meeples onto the one little door and make it float? So you have a little baby dexterity game in there of trying to balance two meeples on that tiny little door as well, as a little shout out to the door.
So the question on everybody's mind here is, is this game fun? Yes, it is fun. It's full of tension. You're making life and death decisions at every single turn, quite literally. You're constantly outrunning the water, and there's enough depth here to create replayability. Some other cool fun facts: you can actually set the Titanic up in relative historical true factual
layout.
Layout. Yeah. We made that a thing, so you can set up the Titanic how it should have been actually set up, or if you want a replayable game, you can swap the tiles around in each row, which will mix up the maze. This game has a bit of a maze in it, in that the girders, you can't go through them, so you're constantly having to figure out how to get through the ship. If you haven't seen Spin Master's booth yet, it's super, super cool. I kid you not, this is probably the coolest booth I've ever seen.
Yes, that was exactly what I wanted you to mention.
3D Titanic. Mm-hmm. And the Titanic sinks over time. So we're on day 4. It's half underwater. It's pretty epic. So I highly recommend checking it out.
And that, if you guys haven't checked that out, that the URL for that is titanic.spinmastergames.com. Which I was poking around right before we went live on camera today, and it is awesome. And I like how you also put in little nods, like little fun facts from the game, from the historical event, from the movie. The rule book is hidden within this 3D interactive environment. You're still trying to save some little virtual meeples. Top notch. That was amazing.
Cheers. Well, yeah, check it out. You can go to it through the Gen Con Looking Glass, and it's on the promotional link bit. But yeah, you can see a real 3D Titanic, and it sinks, which is pretty awesome.
I think the other question people are going to be very anxious to ask is, when is it available and how?
Right. This game is available right now. It came out yesterday, which we're really excited about. You can get it through Target.com or Walmart.com. It should be on Amazon.com pretty soon, if it's not already. And your friendly local game store should have it relatively
And
soon.
Gen Con.
It's available, and it's on
Gen
Con Store through BGG.
Daryl, since you were the designer of this, were you a fan of the movie beforehand? Have you become a fan? Have you become not a fan? I'm just wondering sort of what your relationship is now with the IP, having immersed yourself so deeply in it for the last year or so.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, I was definitely a fan. I was one of the many that probably saw it many times in theater. It's like not a lot of movies you see over again, but for some reason, I think I saw it 3 or 4 times in theater. And then even like of recent, we've watched the movie a ton of times, capturing like clips and quotes and you name it. I still love it. It's fun playing with just totally different people. I can play this with family and play this with kids. I can play this with gamers. So I'm still not sick of it. We did also, I gotta give a shout out for my co-designer Adrian, and we snuck ourselves in the game a little bit. And so there is a Adamescu room for Adrian, and that's tile 400A, and then we wanted to be on the same floor. So on 400D, so his name's Adrian, so he's on the A tile. And then my name, Daryl, being on the D tile of 400, is the kennel I renamed after my dog, so it's Lincoln's Kennel. So those are not historically accurate rooms, but otherwise we studied floor plans and we read up all about the Titanic and everything. So
wonderful. Well, I'm delighted that we were able to get you both on to give you both the publisher perspective and the designer perspective. If you guys are interested in checking this out, this is Titanic, which is being published by Spin Master Games, and Nick on the bottom, Daryl on the top. Thank you both.